you said that there's American troops on the Ukraine border, and I read that in your last Substack. By the way, everyone should subscribe to your Substack. It's incredible. And what were you implying? That American troops could potentially go into Ukraine? You weren't implying that.
No, I was telling people that we've had, there are two, the Army's got troubles, but it's got two really high-level competent divisions. One is the 82nd, and the other one is the 101st. And about 2 years ago, we planted a brigade, that's 5 companies, of 7,500 troops. It's about 60 miles from the border in Poland, 60 miles or so from, maybe it's kilometers, but I think it's miles, from the border with Ukraine, which is nothing in a combat force. You go like that, half an hour. They've been training and exercise. In fact, since the last year, they've turned it over to, they rotate troops. And if you have 7,500 combat troops, you've got another 3,000 or 4,000 backup troops you don't count. So, and then in the last 8 months, 8 months ago, the 101st Airborne Brigade, which is another very famous World War II unit, they drop behind enemy lines and do all that stuff. I was a grunt in the Army, so I know about those units. And they're very competent units, and they're training and exercised. They're just, again, very close to the border. And Romania, I think, right about the country that I always forget which one it is, Romania.
Yeah.
And maybe not, I don't remember. But so what are they doing there? That's why I just asked that question, because ostensibly, you could say if NATO has to go in, if NATO, which is having a lot of problems in Western Europe with the fact that they don't have the oil and gas they need, the natural gas from the pipeline is gone. There's a lot of brooding about that. That doesn't mean NATO is going to collapse, but would that be a NATO, with those two units, 20,000 troops altogether, maybe 15,000 combat? Would they go in as part of the NATO force? Is that what we want against Russia? And we've been training F-16 pilots. The F-16 is an old jet, and the Russians have so much more advanced anti-aircraft stuff. They would just knock them out of the sky in a minute, but still we've been training them. And we may start sending them in maybe from bases in Poland. We really want to escalate that way. And all I did was raise the question that nobody talks about these groups. I mean, they're public. They don't hide what they're doing. I read about them. I can get all the clips I want. I have a good researcher from the Army newspapers, the monthly newspapers and weekly newspapers. And so does Biden have an end game if it looks bad? What is the end game? It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it can be anything but bad. Russia has not put any of its main force units in. A few have gone in. When they first invaded in February last year, they invaded with 120,000 troops. And I could never figure out what Putin was thinking. I still don't know. When the Wehrmacht, which was one of the great armies of World War II, pre-World War II, when the Wehrmacht went into Poland, 1.2 million.
Wow.
And Putin, if you don't read his speeches as translated, you're missing something, because he's really smart. You may disagree with him. He may have some illusions about the grandeur of Russia, which drove him to attack. I do think there's a lot of reason to think that he was willing to make a settlement. And I'll tell you what I hear from the smart guys I know. They think that the settlement that could come, even now, if we agree, if we put pressure on Zelensky to agree, it's interesting. It's this summer, maybe this spring, there's going to be a big Ukrainian offensive that probably will not work because Russia has so much artillery and air power. You just can't. I don't think it'll work. It won't do anything. But it could create a stall, a place. The Donbass region is built like bunkers and tunnels like you haven't seen since World War I. And if you move 50 feet a day, that means you're moving from one set of concrete tunnels to another. It's very slow going. A lot of people getting killed. Ukraine at their high point was firing 4 times as many missiles a week than we did in World War II. If they fired 20,000, we fired 5,000. That's why they run out of stuff. They do so much shooting without really aiming. So the deal I hear that would work is ceasefire. The provinces, the 4 provinces of Oblast, whatever they call them, Oblats, that Putin has already declared to be Russia. You call them, the word that I heard was suzerainty, which is a very complicated, it's a government in which the people locally have control, but an outsider does foreign policy. So Russia would still be doing the foreign policy and the negotiations on behalf of it, but there would be a serious attempt to have less Russian influence on internal things. And they keep Crimea. And Zelensky can stay if he wants. The borders are where they are. Demilitarization of Ukraine is going to be the sticking point. Mm-hmm. He's going to say, you want to stay? Get rid of what you got and get it done. And then we're in business. We do not want to militarize NATO built up Ukraine next to us.
Right. We've
always been, 2 centuries ago, Ukraine was the class act, royalty, etc. Now Russia's the class act. But it's, Russia was Stalin in 1932 when there was a famine in all over the world, and particularly in Ukraine. He took all of the wheat from Ukraine and brought it to Russia, Mother Russia. 22 million people starved, Ukrainians, by Stalin's action. They've always treated the Ukrainians like 3rd or 4th class citizens. But he's not going to let us keep Ukraine as some sort of some control. He's just not going to do it. But so that's what I hear could happen.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, it's Brian Rose, founder of the DeFi Academy. I've told you my 4-week crypto bootcamp is amazing, but don't take my word for it. This is what my students are saying.
The DeFi Academy was an amazing experience for me. It took me totally out of my comfort zone.
In this course, I was challenged, I was held accountable, and pushed to do things that honestly weren't always easy.
It's been phenomenal, and I can't believe we're already up on our 4 weeks. It has flown by.
Going through this DeFi accelerator by far was one of the best courses I've taken.
You do this course, you really get into the nitty-gritty of the activities that will make you comfortable with decentralized finance.
Thank you so much to Brian and everyone at London Real and the DeFi Academy for even putting together an amazing course like this.
Anybody else that wants to do it, please sign up. It is well worth the money.